So for this salad, we're going to have 1 head of romaine lettuce. I don't want this to be a heavy lettuce-based salad. We want to try and mix it with as many interesting things as possible. So we just need 1 head. We're going to use half a cucumber. We're going to use 1 carrot. Got a couple of limes to add some citrusy zest to the dressing. We're going to add a pepper, add some nice crunch and colour. We're going to use some seeds to add some sort of toasty sort of umami flavour to the dish. We've got some mature cheddar, some good quality salty cheddar is key. Sun-dried tomatoes, antipasti are just going to add so much level of flavour to the dish. And no salad is complete without salt and pepper. So the first thing we're going to do is get the pan on, get that nice and warm. We want to have about low heat to add in the pumpkin and the sunflower seeds. And they're just going to toast away throughout the whole time that we're preparing the rest of the salad. So we're using pumpkin seeds here. Start off quite green, they get really nice and toasted, develop a delicious flavour. And sunflower seeds, those are my 2 recommendations. You could also add in sesame seeds. Bear in mind that they are smaller, so you might want to add those in a little bit later on because they're going to take less time to toast. If you've been put off seeds in the past because they're maybe a bit chewy, you don't really like the texture or the flavour, I really strongly recommend you try toasted seeds because they just develop such an incredible flavour when you toast them. And then key important factor, we're going to use a Tupperware with a lid to shake the crap out of everything once it's all done. So preparing the lettuce, we're just going to chop the head off. I haven't washed it at this stage. We're going to chop it into small chunks like so, just holding the bunch, let it do the work itself. Just take the knife through it, dead easy. And then chuck that in the colander. We're going to just wash that all in the colander. Rather than trying to wash each leaf individually, this just saves a little bit of time. Just going to leave that to drain once you've washed. So it's going to take about half a cucumber. And the hack here is, if you chop the end off, you can peel the cellophane all the way down, dead easy. You don't have to spend time faffing around with it. So we're going to use half a cucumber here. So we're just going to chop that off, give it a wash, and then the rest of the cucumber you can just chuck in the fridge. So we're going to wash that. Now, the key thing here, we're going to do 2 different types of texture with the cucumber. The first one is actually peeled using a carrot peeler, as I'm showing here. This is going to basically create nice thin ribbons, which will just add another texture and another level of interest to the salad. We don't want it boring. We want to have as much variety as possible. So just hold the cucumber, and we're going to go down to about half the depth of the cucumber. Then we're going to chop the rest. You can see now it's getting a bit difficult to peel. So I've got some nice ribbons there. Then the rest of it, we're just going to cut in half down the length of the cucumber. And using our knuckle trick, we're just going to cut through the rest of that. So we've got a nice combination of the softer ribbons and the crunchy cucumber chunks. So next up, we're going to prepare the carrot. Very similar practice here. We're going to cut the ends off, we're going to peel it, and then we're going to use a carrot peeler once it's peeled to again create ribbons, but obviously ribbons of carrot this time. Now it's much easier if you hold the carrot about 1/3 of the way down from the top and then just try and peel the rest as I'm showing here. And you're going to end up with these short ribbons that are just going to be really interesting and really nice within your salad. Now you don't want to go all the way through because it gets really difficult when you're about 1/3 thickness left. And obviously don't try and ping any carrot ribbons across the room. So how nice does that look already? And then the rest, we're just going to cut the end off that we've been peeling. We're going to cut it in half and just chop those into small chunks. Then with the rest of the carrot, we're going to chop that into quarters. And then a little hack that I like to use is cut all 4 of those strips in one go as shown here. So we don't waste any time. It takes the same amount of time as it does to chop 1 versus 4, so you might as well do 4 and then chuck that in to the Tupperware. You don't have to worry too much about a mess at this stage. So next up, we're going to prepare the pepper. So first thing you want to do is cut the end off, and that's going to give you a nice level board that you can cut around the core as shown here. So you want to use a sort of light sawing action, and that's going to mean that you don't get any of the seeds involved and you completely miss out on the core of the pepper. This is a nice little hack that should save you, hopefully, quite a lot of time when preparing peppers. I honestly used to hate preparing peppers. I'd almost put it off. I wouldn't include them in meals because they were such a faff to do. But now, look at that. It's dead easy. There's usually a little bit just around the base there that you can chop off, but the rest of it you can just get rid of. Then we're just going to cut those slices in half and then into chunks like so. And again, we're doing 2 at a time here just to speed things up. You know, it takes the same amount of time to chop 2 as it does 1. And also make sure to taste it, of course. Just going to chuck those in. So we've got some really nice colours going on, and that is only going to get better. So next up, we've got an apple. Make sure to always stir your seeds. It can be really easy to leave those and let them burn. So just keep an eye on those. So we're cutting around the core of the apple, and every time we cut, that gives us a nice flat level to then do the next cut. Okay, so you can see every time we make a cut, we turn it 90 degrees, and that allows us to then make the next cut. Always avoiding the core and the seeds and the pips, so you don't have to deal with those. Then we're just going to chop those into small chunks like so. So you can cut those chunks into 2 and then just using the horizontal to cut those into small pieces. So of course you can chop the apple as finely as you like. I quite like these sort of rough chunks. I like to get as many different flavours as possible and textures onto my fork when I'm eating the dish. That just keeps it really interesting. So the sun-dried tomatoes up next. We're going to take about 8 to 10. Obviously it depends how large they come in the jar. So we're going to take the oil from the sun-dried tomatoes and we're going to use that in the salad dressing. So because that oil has been loaded with flavour from being sat with the sun-dried tomatoes in the jar, that is going to be a powerhouse of flavour to use in our dish. Next up, the seeds are done. They're nice and brown and toasted. So we're going to take those and pour them onto a cold plate. And that is really important because you want them to cool down as much as possible. So we're just going to spread those out on a cold plate and let those cool, because they will develop a much deeper, nicer crunch and develop a much deeper flavour once they have cooled down. So we're just going to let those cool for the rest of the dish. Next up, we're just going to chop up the sun-dried tomatoes nice and rough. Make sure you do chop these up because they release even more flavour into the meal when you release that goodness when you slice them. So adding those in, when we shake it all up towards the end, that is only going to make the dish even better. That is all coming together now. So many different colours and flavours and textures. So really important one that we cannot miss, good quality mature cheddar. I'm just cutting it really roughly here, not being too perfect because we're going to crumble it in. Now that's just the texture that I prefer and I quite like within my dish. You can of course chop it into chunks if you desire. So you can use something like feta or a lower fat cheese if you're trying to watch the calories that you're intaking. But really for taste, the higher the quality, salty, sort of maybe slightly crunchy cheddar will work really well. So with the limes, make sure to roll them. It looks funny at first, but honestly, I promise you will get so much more juice from those limes if you roll them first. So just going to cut that in half, and you can see how much more juice there is present or available to you once you've rolled that. And then we're just going to squeeze that in the jar with the oil from the sun-dried tomatoes. Now they are separated now, but that is fine because we're going to shake that up and emulsify those together. We're going to season the salad dressing. That's really important. Salt and pepper will just bring out even more flavors within the salad. Now make sure you put the lid on properly. Don't let that escape and just give that a really good shake. And you can see immediately how that has emulsified into one sort of dressing that we can top our salad with. Give it a taste. I always recommend you taste your dressings before you serve them up. You can correct it at this stage dead easy, but once it's on the dish, it's probably a little bit too late. So we're adding the romaine lettuce that we've been leaving to drain into the Tupperware. Now you don't want to put too much in because you want to leave a little bit of room at the top for when you shake up the Tupperware box full of all your ingredients. Because if there's no room, then it's just not going to move and you're not going to get that nice mix of the veggies that we've all prepared. So top with a couple of handfuls of seeds. So top with a couple of handfuls of seeds, citrusy, and then the lovely salad dressing, citrusy salad dressing, tomato, olive oil. Make sure that lid salad dressing properly. Double check it. Make sure that lid goes on properly. Really double check it when you shake it up. Make sure, and then really go for it when you shake it up. Make sure really important is fully mixed. So this is really important. Best bit in my opinion. So this is you open it up, you can get all the, in my opinion, fragrances and all the flavours coming off, fragrances and all the flavours coming off, and get a nice mixture of those different textures, different colours, mixture of those different textures, different colours. I hope one of the best salads that you have ever tried. I hope one of the best. You probably find it's more filling, you know, there's more to it. You probably find it's more filling, you know, there's more to it. A little bit more protein, great healthy fat from the seeds, a little bit more protein. Never ever, and you can never ever, in my opinion, serve up a salad without seasoning, in my opinion. So I hope you enjoy the salad to the next level. Look at that. So I hope you enjoy the salad as much as I do. Look at that. That is my ultimate salad recipe.